the Juan Soto, just right there, it says it, monster deal.
Biggest contract in history.
So he has agreed to a contract with the Mets that is $765 million for 15 years. That is that is crazy money.
Right. And there's incentives to where he can get up to 800 million. Like the contract tops out at 800 million if he hits all of his incentives.
Well, and the talking point of this game was that basically the Mets
of this contract,
is that the Mets basically stole him away from the Yankees, and there's weird stuff coming out where like the Yankees were not letting him get like a suite and a bunch of other weird things where he was like, I want this, this, and this, and the Yankees were basically like, no, and then the Mets came in and were like,
it's for somebody who watches baseball, especially baseball that's over, I live here, but being a Red Sox fan, baseball over in the East Coast. Apparently, the Yankees were trying to offer him to stay for like about 735 or something like that is what they were roughing it around. The Red Sox were in talks as well, but apparently they were capped out somewhere around 700 is what I heard. I'm so glad my Red Sox did not get this guy and get this contract. I'm not a big fan of Juan Soto. Is he a good player? He's decent, yeah, but decent. He's better than decent. He's a good player. Any franchise would be happy to have him, but not for this kind of money, especially for 15 years. Dude, 15 years is insane to think about.
Well, it's going to be one of those things where
2 years shy of half my life, which is just blowing my mind that there's that kind of a contract out there. You know my take on long contracts. I think they're horrible. They're dumb.
Yeah, he's coming off back-to-back seasons with the Padres, where he did 35 home runs. Then last year with the Yankees, he did 41 home runs. So that's the most home runs he's hit in any of his 7 years in the league. So this is definitely him at the peak of his powers, and he got rewarded for it. Now, like you, 10 years, 15 years, any of those long-term contracts, especially in major sports where you just see a guy, go from an all-pro to falling off a cliff in 1 year and you really never even see it coming. I think it's insane, but also it's one of those things where we have to look at it objectively and be like, they're not going to pay him over 15 years. This is going to be like a 10-year thing. And then when he's fallen off the last 5 years, they'll restructure it, or he'll get traded or cut, and there will be dead money, and some of it's guaranteed, some of it isn't. So the thing that
it's not like a super, super friendly contract like Shohei Ohtani's, where he's only getting $2 million a year, for 10 years. It's just not going to help the team out much.
Well, this is also one of those things where in baseball, this is one of the things where it just makes people go like, this is why they need a salary cap. This is why, we need to regulate because again, we're going to get the A's. I don't know why my camera's freaking out right now. We're going to get the A's in Las Vegas. And when we get them, there's no way.
I'm glad that it's your camera, by the way, because I thought I was just getting I turned 34 now. I just can't see. Everything's blurry.
There we go. But we're just going to get the A's in Vegas in a couple years. There's no way the A's or 25 other teams in Major League Baseball could even offer this kind of money with any kind of now we can build a team around this guy. Now we can be a contender. It's just not going to happen. So then it becomes what kind of baseball has become over the past decades, and really feels like it's ramping up to, which is, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Mets, all these teams in major markets are just going to take every player, and there's going to be 4 or 5 teams that are just legit contenders every year, and then kind of everybody else just trying to compete with them with a Moneyball-esque outlook on Major League Baseball, which is just no, we can't offer one player $800 million. And that's just the reality of baseball. I don't know. Thoughts on just what these kind of contracts mean for baseball, Casino?
Uh, it's I mean, it's been like this forever. You can always do this, so it's not really going to change the field too much, but it's just the amount of money that these organizations, because that's what they are, they're not teams, these organizations want to spend. And that's there's the luxury tax and stuff like that, and it just blows my mind that teams will do this, and it does make it unfair. um but that's how baseball's always been.
Yeah.
That's how it's always been. That's how the Yankees have got so many titles. It's because they can buy the players. Red Sox, when they started winning, as late 2000 teens, they were winning a lot of different. They were winning a lot, right? Because they were actually paying their players. Like when they stopped paying players and getting good players in, their team, the franchise went to shit. So it's all about money. It's always been about money. So that's why it's refreshing when you have random teams just playing well, getting hot, no name guys who get the big contracts eventually get up there. But that's why it's kind of tough to watch baseball live, because I know who's going to win. I called it exactly how it was going to be this year before the season even started. I said, oh, it was going to be a it's a Dodger Yankees World Series. If it's not, call me out on it. And Dodgers are
Yeah.
going to win. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
so
this
easy to predict.
also, you could have predicted that before Otani went to the Dodgers. And then when Otani went to the Dodgers, it was like, oh, now we can just double down. Like, of course, now it's definitely going to happen instead of maybe happening before. But that is a great segue, Casino, to our second baseball topic, which is the introduction, or I guess the talks of an introduction for what is being called as the golden at bat rule. So, for anyone who is unaware of what the golden at bat rule would be, it would be this: you would select one batter to take an extra plate appearance during a game, regardless of their position in the batting order. You can use this rule during crucial moments, such as the ninth inning. You can send your best hitter to the plate once per game, even if it's not their turn to hit. So it would allow teams to pinch hit any hitter at any time of the game, but each team can only use it once per game. So, thoughts on this potential rule change, Casino?
I hate it. I hate it. It's just another thing. It's just kind of like this whole NBA playoff like tournament thing that nobody's watching. Nobody cares is going
Well,
on.
nobody's watching the NBA
It-
regardless. Yeah.
Regardless, they're down like 30% in their damn viewership. And they're trying to do something for people to watch. And this is the same for baseball. They're trying to make it interesting. And all you're doing is ruining the game. Like it's gonna get into that realm of like the movie Basketball, where all of a sudden they're just gonna start making up rules on the fly just so they can make things entertaining. And it's just like it's not gonna be an old legitimate game anymore.
Yeah, I also think it kind of robs baseball of, what they always say, which is like the magic of baseball. I mean, if this, like, the way you can think about it is, do teams save this rule until it's, bases loaded in the fourth quarter, and then you don't get the Freddie Freeman moment that happened in the World Series where he hits a grand slam, and then you get all the great stories and the great, like, you know, publicity and news and headlines out of that, because every time you would be in that situation, it would just be like, oh, let's just take our star player who already is a star and known and isn't going to bring extra eyes to the sport. Like, let's use this to try to make a moment for him instead of just baseball just having the moments almost be organic, if that makes sense to me. Like, I think the strat, or if that makes sense to you, Casino,
Yeah.
the best part about baseball is kind of the randomness of it, where it's like just based on the batting order. Like, if you're going into the ninth inning and you have one, if you have one out, you have two more outs, and then you kind of look at the next two guys up. It's the strategy and the fun of baseball is just like, who are those two going to be? Like, it just kind of like, that's the randomness I think people like where now if you can just kind of artificially make it so your best players are betting in the or are batting in the most opportune moments, I feel like it kind of ruins the magic of it.
Yeah, you know, that's the whole thing. That's why you know how to set up a lineup. That's how you are, you know, you have to be able to, it's chess. That's what baseball is. You know, you set up your lineup, be like, okay, this guy does well here, this guy does good when bases are loaded, this guy walks. You know, if you could just plug in your best player every single time, then you know this is bullshit.
Well, and also this is the slippery slope where it's like, oh, it just starts as you can only use this once per game. Like only once per game. You're out of your mind if you don't think that it starts like that. And then it's like, well, now it's twice a game. Now it's three times a game. Now it's once per inning. Now it's, and then it just becomes like you can just make the batting order up as you go along and just have the same guy try three times in a row. Why not? Like that's the slippery slope argument, which is you change it once. And again, the issue I think for every sport right now, but the NFL, is that less people are watching most sports now than ever before. Right? Because you can easily not watch baseball. You can easily not watch NBA, not watch NHL, and still know everything that's going on in those sports. Like you can also do that with the NFL, but the NFL is the number one most popular sport right now, so everybody's watching it.
Yeah,
But with the other three major sports things or the other major sports franchises, you can just watch highlights. You can just look at the scores afterwards and just be like, oh, I just watched every good play in an NBA or an NHL game in a 3-minute clip video. Like I didn't have to sit there for 3 hours watching the games. And that's, again, we'll do a topic like this in the future, maybe next week, which is just why no one is watching the NBA is because the NBA is so easy to follow without watching it.
yeah, it
Like
is.
you don't need to watch it to know every single thing going on in it. Same can be for NHL, same can be for Major League Baseball. So the getting the eyes on baseball, if that's the goal, I don't see how the golden at bat rule like accomplishes that without kind of mucking up the game to where it becomes,
Yeah, it's the game
yeah,
is supposed to be a strategy game. You know, that's what that is. You know, this hitter versus this pitcher. Who do you have in your lineup, you know, for that game? Who are you gonna like? They already have rules where you can do pinch hitters, you know, you can do pinch runners. You know, you can adjust, you know, you can adjust like, okay, now I want this player to play this like this position, which mixes up the lineup. Oh, I'm going to pull a lefty out of the bullpen because you know the lefty pitcher is better against this player. Like statistically, like, there's ways to do it. You know, so to have this dumb, like it's so dumb to have that rule. I
yeah.
just can't. It's a
Well,
dumb
and
rule.
then it also, if the stars of baseball are already getting $750 million contracts, this now makes those stars more valuable. So now every one of those stars is going to be worth what, $1 billion? Because then it's like, well, now I'm not only the best player on the field, I can be the best player at the most crucial position because, again, we're taking all the strategy out of it and we're just building it to where wherever the most opportune moment happens, I can do it. And again, I would be fine with this rule if it was set in stone where like just once a game, that's it. But we know if this works and it brought, if by any metric you can think of this works, they would 100% make it three times a game, five times a game, once per inning, and then all hell would break loose, right? And it would just be like, again, I don't know. When you look at baseball, I don't know how it being probably the third or fourth least popular major sport in the, I guess, United States, because I don't know about the world, but in the United States, I don't know how they're making enough money to, you know, give these players these kind of contracts because their TV deals over the past couple of years have gone down. The Apple what is it, subscription with Major League Baseball, I think was like a huge money loss for, I mean, when have you ever heard somebody be like, I watch Major League Baseball on Apple TV? Like I've never
Yeah,
heard a person say that. So
same.
I don't know how the MLB is making the kind of money it does just to offer these kind of contracts. So I get changing it, but like
It's
change
all
shit
merch, man, and it's all merch and all these
and all
like
live
or
games,
yeah, like
like
all these
stadium games.
organizations, they own other things. Like the Red Sox, for instance, they had their owner that he owned like the Boston Globe, he owned Liverpool, like
Yeah, yeah.
all these things. Like it's just old time money that they already have, and so it just means nothing to them.